Hi, I'm Obsessing Again, and this video addresses the gradual decline of football games, in particular EAFC. For years, the phrase, "Do you fancy a game of FIFA?" was rife amongst my friends and millions of guys, particularly in the UK. The UK is a footballing nation, a shared passion amongst generations. Part of the fandom that came with collecting match tags or panini stickers, watching Match of the Day and playing as your favourite players in FIFA. Whilst I might be in the minority of the community by thinking the gameplay isn't terrible, I do believe the series is heading towards a downward spiral. Whilst this franchise is very nostalgic for some, in both presentation, gameplay and soundtrack, I'll do my best to assess the historic franchise without rose-tinted glasses. When EA lost the rights to FIFA, a new era of football gaming was announced, EAFC 24, a name that just rolls off your tongue. I felt that perhaps EA not being associated with FIFA would give them more creative freedom to try something new. With the lack of PES, now called eFootball, the competition has folded and become a monopoly for EA. Though the end of Pro Evolution Soccer was the equivalent of liking a multi-million album selling alternative punk band, to have other options was healthy. So when you see the rebranding of FIFA, a new cover start and highly anticipated features, it felt like EA could unshackle themselves and take a new innovative approach. But they didn't. All the features we've come to accept over the years were largely the same, but worse. Since the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 era, Ultimate Team has been the primary source for players. The idea of creating a team of your favourite players and having rare cards to compete with is fun. It ties into collecting special cards in playgrounds, or for my American and Australian audiences, recess. It was the bragging rights of having a man of the match Ronaldo or Thierry Henry's match-winning card. To give EA kudos, they have made good changes over the years. What was initially an extensive mode that required high maintenance has been simplified. They got rid of fitness cards and specific formation players, and gave you more rewards so you weren't reliant on buying the likes of contracts. EA turns to work like a pendulum. If one thing goes up, one must come down, and this leads to my biggest issue with Ultimate Team.
Alongside Thiago Silva in the centre of defence.
While the lack of fitness requirements appears to be a good thing, it stopped making Ultimate Team fun. Part of the reason fitness helped was it forced you to either buy squad fitness cards or you had a different team to rotate. While I never believed in individual fitness cards as they became bothersome and overly cluttered, being forced to rotate your squad gave you options to try different players. This critique is small compared to my big issue with Ultimate Team.
In it goes! He scored on his debut!
It's the influx of special cards which has proven to be an issue. Cards. Endless cards. Whilst it sounds like a brilliant idea to have varying players of special ability, it's made gold cards irrelevant in the first few weeks of playing. Whilst promotions are fun and they create a frenetic excitement, the relentlessness of promos has made everything borderline redundant. Looking at my Ultimate Team over the years, I'm finding my team is getting better but much sooner. Come February or March, I have a very competitive team. The trajectory this is going in will play out like an epidemic if it hasn't already started growing. FIFA 17 truly tried innovative ways of doing promotions. Team of the Week and Team of the Year have always been a touchstone. However, promos that leaned into the humour and variety such as Movember, Footmas and Ultimate Scream gave players alternatives to Ronaldo's and Messi's. In EAFC 24, any player from any club in the top 5 leagues has a chance of getting a high rated card with no justification or reason.
Can she pick the right option? This could be it! In it goes! And surely that...
With the introduction of women to Ultimate Team, it paved the way for stars of the women's game to emerge into the mainstream like we've never seen before. And yet, for the new influx of gold cards to try, people are still longing to use the players they've been accustomed to all these years.
And a goal almost bewitched.
We play football because of competition. When you eradicate competitiveness by giving access to overly powered cards, shooting, defending and passing becomes less rewarding. You find yourself not filming pack openings because everybody already has that said player. Your free kicks, bicycle kicks are redundant because EA are releasing flashy centre backs with stupidly high finishing stats. Whilst this video is a critical look at what EAFC is becoming, it's not to say that everything about this mode is bad. A saving grace is evolutions. It's providing an alternative that can be challenging but rewarding. Objective challenges that on completion can grow attributes for regular gold cards and revitalise special cards. The issue with Ultimate Team is how it relentlessly fuels constant upgrades. 2 or 3 weeks without playing sets you back 6 months. It's an endless grind. This brings us towards the second biggest mode, Career Mode, a personal favourite. Creating a rags to riches stories from League 2 or scraping it out of the European elites, it's a fan favourite mode for all the armchair critics. The glossy menu and improved ways of tweaking not only your squad but also the youth team are welcomed additions. Whilst these have been a work in progress, they created longevity in player retention. Only until recently was it a possibility to retrain players into new positions. It was a lauded change that was asked for with every new FIFA release. It's the ongoing frustration with asking for the bare minimum of improvement and then having to be grateful when it's finally introduced. When press conferences and transfer negotiations were brought in, it was a massive overhaul from just an email back and forth when spending millions on a player. When this mode is put into practice, however, it makes minimal player contract negotiations a laborious chore. When in interviews, the overly simplified responses shun you from being stern, as this only causes upset in the players, fans and team morale. The future of this mode will always be in the shadow of the likes of Football Manager.
I never expected anything like this.
Yes! A goal for Alex Hunter on his debut.
A feature that had so much promise was the journey. Initially, it was the most exciting feature that we've seen in years. Playing as an up-and-coming footballer, Alex Hunter, you had the option to choose what Premier League team to sign with. Whilst you couldn't modify him, the thought of playing out your childlike fantasies was a welcomed experience. The more the news was revealed in the summer, the more underwhelming it became. Whilst playing careers already exist in EAFC, NBA 2K already had storylines and a system which feels like it's living. Its release was seen as EA making a step to try and offer offline players a compelling and emotive package. But after a couple more installments and dodgy acting from footballing stars,
I think we must both be in trouble.
Alex Hunter was no more. Customization was added which allowed you to add tattoos or a fade or a different type of football boot. Whilst this pointed in the right direction of what players wanted, it was dropped. What stunted its growth was how it could only be played for a season. EA left its star boy and it got replaced with Volta.
This could be my one shot.
Again, Volta brought so much excitement and was an announcement that made FIFA fans nostalgic for FIFA Street. Volta, meaning to return in Portuguese, is a game mode influenced by the 2000s FIFA spin-offs, but Volta was dead on arrival. What made the original FIFA Street an urban classic was an aesthetic that was true to the beautiful game. It embraced the roots of players globally, whether it was playing football in makeshift goals under highways in Europe or favelas in Brazil. With this spin-off game, the gameplay was invigorated with an emphasis on skills, whilst the players moved with a bit more weight, being confined to tight spaces on harsher playing surfaces. Though the game has its issues with sluggish defending for gameplay, the game's vernacular influenced a generation of FIFA players on the pitch or cages, headed by Dizzy Rascal and MC Harvey. Volta washes this away with an overly saturated colour palette and players run around like they are on ice skates. You may find yourself playing this game mode on the day of release, but its overly arcade gameplay offers little reward for what fans loved about the original FIFA Street. The unlocked bonuses lean into the battle pass of nature of Fortnite and Call of Duty, which for me personally acts as a deterrent. My biggest guilty pleasure with FIFA, or EAFC, is Pro Clubs. Is it a perfect mode? No. It can be frustrating, but if you're playing with friends, you won't find more enjoyment and laughter than this mode. It's a mode that's been continuously neglected. In recent installments, custom kits and revisited player progression have helped point this mode in the right direction, but its clumsy AI teammates and finicky gameplay are holding it back. What allowed FIFA to dominate wasn't necessarily better gameplay, it was their licenses. They fought hard and paid big when they acquired the World Cup and Champions League. For years gone by, the World Cup or the Euros meant a cheaper game for the summer, with new kits, menus and game modes. In the age of most games being bought digitally, this would be the perfect scenario. Like the pendulum I mentioned earlier, EA stopped making spin-off games. They began to put their licenses into practice by putting special players tied in with the biggest competitions. The Champions League iconography and theme were used in career mode, and what adds to the immersion is fleeting. The downfall of Pro Evolution Soccer was not having licenses. Man Red, without kits or stadiums, always felt like it was in the shadows of EA. As a player of this game, playing as your team, representing your club and controlling the players you watch is why we play this franchise. The football gaming market was once varied, but the dominance of EA and then acquiring the rights to use FIFA, the biggest competition came from PES. Earlier, I likened PES to supporting a punk band. In the early to mid 2000s, they dominated the markets. The passing, the tactical element, customization all led into the rise of this franchise. It peaked in sales in 2008, though many would argue PES 4, 5 and 6 were the best of the series. Resting on their laurels of what made them successful was a contributing factor to dwindling sales in the coming years. What didn't help was their rival having licenses and more money. Subsequently, EA was able to market a Western product for Western audiences, culminating in glossy aesthetics, better presentation than the dated PES system. With the rise of online gaming being widely accessible beyond PCs and the game mode Ultimate Team was the beginning of the end for the Konami publisher. Players of this franchise understand that relentless innovation year on year is unattainable, but with the amount of money EA makes, particularly in microtransactions, they have the resource to put more effort in. They've also been prone to passively leaving in the same bugs year after year. Since playing this franchise consistently since FIFA 08, a lot of the installments all merge into one experience. When debating the best FIFA, it's become increasingly hard to pinpoint the exact one without being nostalgic and wearing rose-tinted glasses. Whilst your entry to FIFA might make you less objective, each FIFA has a signature implementation for better or worse. As years have gone by, you'd expect this game to get better and better, and it hasn't. Visually, the player graphics have improved immensely. Stadiums are more dynamic, but these are examples of incremental improvements, whilst not truly trying to innovate. My next talking point is EA Sports at its lowest. The most disappointing and insulting thing to come from EA Sports is Legacy Edition. When you think of the word legacy, it has these grandiose connotations, but this is the most indolent release of gaming. To be frank, this is a regurgitated copy of the same FIFA, only with updated players and kits. Whilst most of the FIFA community would say every release follows suit, this is a re-release of a re-release of a re-release of a re-release. It's a skimped way of putting out a bare-boned game on older, less performance-based consoles. Should EA charge a smaller fee and treat it like an expansion, lots of users on the Nintendo Switch or older consoles would welcome this, but not EA. For EAFC 24, they decided to try and make a marginal improvement, but the low bar for effort wasn't matched, and the reviews speak for themselves.
But if you have the option, you'll find a much more enjoyable and modern version on any other platform.
I want EA to revitalise Ultimate Team with competitions for silver squads like the older FIFAs, and make icons attainable but not given so freely. Slow down the relentlessness promos so we have something to be excited about. We want manager careers with actual personalities when doing interviews, so you're never relentlessly rewarded by players and fans for being happy-go-lucky when losing 5-0 at home. Diverse player conversations, more shock transfers and bust-ups. Allow managers to change clubs, this would create new intense rivalries and make manager mode less stale. Provide meaning to arbitrary wages by boosting your salary expectations or improving your player recruitment, regardless of the club you're assigned to. One feature I'd be interested in would be a live career mode, following a live season of football, making every game online but painstakingly important.
That's a good goal, you have to say.
A welcomed addition would be a player career mode that had storylines, allowing us to express ourselves like a dramatic sports drama for more than just one season.
Swap shirts after the game?
I will see what I can do.
Mimicking the likes of NBA 2K, but without the relentlessness of microtransactions. Give Volta more. Besides colourful haircuts and overly polished backgrounds, make it a game mode that harkens back to what makes street football iconic. Create an actual gameplay style that differentiates itself from Ultimate Team and regular kickoff. With FIFA or EAFC, it's a collection of serviceable games. There's no outright disaster of a release. They make incremental changes with flashy buzzwords that are plastered over advertising in the lead up to its launch. Though I've been critical in this video, it comes from a place of truly caring about these games. They've become my greatest pastime, but with their ludicrous revenue in Ultimate Team alone, you can't help but feel like we should get more. You can only hope for EAFC 25 to be the changing tide. Thank you for letting me obsess again.